And welcome back to Citizen TV, the special coverage of KCSE 2018 results. It's now 7 minutes past 2 o'clock. We're expecting that in about 8 minutes, we'll be having the Cabinet Secretary, Ambassador Amina Mohammed, get to release the results for the KCSE 2018. You're still expecting her. Of course, as I said earlier, we had seen the entourage, the part of the entourage of the Cabinet Secretary making their way to the days at the Kenya National Examinations Council offices at Caledonia to come and release results for the 664,000 candidates that had been registered for KCSE. Of course, so many of them are waiting to see how they performed in this examination that was concluded on the 28th of November and has been marked and the results analyzed, processed, and now ready in about 23 days. Of course, earlier on, we saw the team of Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed alongside several officials from the Kenya National Examinations Council, Professor George Magoha, the chairperson, the Chief Executive Officer, Jane Karongo, as well as the Teacher Service Commission Chief Executive Officer, Nancy Macharia, the Director of the Kenya Institute of the Chief Executive Officer, I believe, of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, Dr. Julius John, making their way to State House to brief the President on how the results of the class of 2018 performed in the KCSE examination. Of course, previously, when we had the KCSE 2019, KCP rather, 2019 being released on the 19th of November, we saw the Cabinet Secretary saying that, and of course also the officials from the Kenya National Examinations Council indicating that the results reflected normal curve in terms of the performance. But just to take you back to the results of 2017, we had 142 straight A's or A-planes that were posted by the candidates who sat that examination. And that was just an increase of one A-plane compared to the year 2016 when there were 141. Then for the A-minors, there were 2,714 in the KCSE of 2017. B-plus were at 7,344. B-plane were 12,628. B-minus 19,385. And C-plus were 27,860. And the total for that was about 70,073 candidates, indicating 11% of the candidates of the class of 615,772. So should that trend continue, then we should see about another 11% or between 11 and 15% attaining the university entry points of C+ going upwards. So we'll be sure to analyze how the class of 2017 performed in regard to that. Of course, so many variables. We have heard of the action that was taken by the ministry. If we can go back to that, that 222 schools were put under scrutiny during the administration of the examination. There were officials in 10 centers who were fired or charged. In as far as the management of the examination was concerned, 110 people were arrested over cheating and examination irregularities. Then we had 4 candidates who were deregistered for impersonation. Of course, impersonation talks of a candidate or rather someone else appearing for a candidate who has been registered for the examination. And there were 101 phones that were confiscated during that administration. And of course, just to show you some of the offenses that were cited during the administration of that exercise. That's the slide that I just spoke about. And as far as the persons that were nabbed during the administration of the examination. So we'll be waiting to see if there was any impact of all these issues that were happening during that examination that concluded on the 28th of November. After quite a bit of preparations, after quite a lot of reports of people saying that there were plans to cheat or to ensure that some candidates got advantage over others. So we'll see what the impact of that is. So you can look at that, just look at like what I was referring to earlier. The candidates that scored B- 19,000, C+ 27,000, below C+ were a whole 540,000 that were not able to meet the degree or the university admission grade of C+, and 35,000 of them scored an E plane. oh, well, there's no difference. There's no E-plane, there's no E-minus, so it's just a grade E in as far as that is concerned. So the top candidate that time was Karimi Naomi of Pangani Girls, who emerged top with 87 points. And the Kenya National Examinations Council that time withheld the results for 10 schools, so indicating how that was going to happen. So those are the live images from the Kenya National Examinations Council headquarters, still waiting for the Cabinet Secretary to make her way. According to the information we have, is that she should be there by 2:15. It's just about 3 minutes to that time. And I just want to look at some of the actions that would be taken to persons who are involved in examination malpractices. Earlier on, I showed you some numbers of 4 candidates who had registered for impersonation. Now, if convicted, if taken through the judicial process and convicted, then they would be sentenced to 2 years in prison or 2 million shillings fine, or both, that is 2 years and 2 million shillings. And then also for persons who get involved in examination leakage, then they would be jailed for 10 years or 2 million shilling fine, or both, that is 10 years plus 2 million fine. And then that is if there are also institutions or centers that are found to be involved in examination malpractices or cheating, then such kind of results for such centers would be cancelled. Of course, earlier on, we have been seeing students losing, or rather not able to get their results because of being involved, but now the ministry has been taking stringent measures that should there be quite a rampant spread of cheating in a center, then the entire class loses their results due to those reasons. And of course, as they were sitting the examination, the candidates were not allowed to go into the classrooms with the programmable calculators. They're not allowed to go with mobile phones or electronic communication devices. They're also should they have done that, then they would be punished with the result cancellation. And as I said earlier, 101 phones are confiscated. So as the Cabinet Secretary declares the results for this year, then we'll also be looking out for what happens to the owners or the holders of those mobile phones that were confiscated. You remember there was also that controversial conversation about the ministry had warned that should a candidate be caught with a mobile phone, then the parent would be held accountable and responsible for that particular gadget. But that conversation was not very popular. Of course, some of the parents saying that they are not entirely responsible of what their children own or what they can find. Also, as the KCSE candidates and of course the KCPE candidates are making their entry into the examination rooms, they had to go through quite thorough frisking before gaining entrance. That was to be done outside the classroom, and they were required to be seated 15 minutes before time. And should the candidates be late for more than 30 minutes rather, then they would not be allowed to sit the examination unless they had a very convincing reason. So these are just some of the measures that were put by the Minister of Education as well as the Kenya National Examinations Council in ensuring that the management and the administration of the examination was conducive as well as secure, to ensure the integrity of the examination is not tainted. And so my guests are back: Amos Kaburu from Toyza East Africa and Dr. Andrew Riechi from the University of Nairobi, the Department of Education Administration and Planning. I'm sure he would be very keen to ensure that the order of those words remains as it is, so that we do not refer to a different department.
No problem. So.
Right. All the same, Dr. Riechi, before you left, you are the point of telling us, Kaburu had spent some time explaining what should happen to candidates as soon as they receive their results. It's now 2:15. You're expecting the Cabinet Secretary to come. And as she comes, there will be several speeches from Professor Magoha, from the Teacher Service Commission, the Principal Secretary for Basic Education, that is Dr. Bilokip Sang. And eventually, the Cabinet Secretary will read the statement or release the results, and then we'll give an index number. And students and candidates across the country, the 600,000 of them, will be very quick to send the index numbers to these codes, and then they'll receive the results, and there'll be the reaction. So there's a candidate who is not very happy with what they'll have achieved. What should they do?
I think what I can say is at the start of the 844 system of education, there were certain ideals that were meant to be achieved by education at different levels, although somewhere in the course of time we lost it and went down to subjects, just a few subjects, and so on. Otherwise, we are still in the 844 system. And I remember one time the then Minister for Education, Honorable Peter Olo Aringo, cautioning Kenyans telling Kenyans that nobody in the 844 system, nobody is a failure. Right? All of them will be achievers. Now, now that we are purely an examination system to a very large extent, there is, there's need for those who do not manage to join universities to think about other, to take some pathways or some ways of doing what they really wanted, right? If, for example, somebody wanted to join university and do a degree in IT, information technology, it's not all lost because they can join, some of the universities are offering diploma programs in IT or in business studies, and I believe after acquiring a diploma, you will have been prepared for the degree program in that area. It will be a little costly, and but it will be an avenue worth considering.
Right. So when you say that, we're still monitoring the screens to see the arrival of the Cabinet Secretary, because I understand she's almost making her way. There she is. So I think there's no point of asking you that question I wanted to ask, but all the same, we'll spend, excuse me, we'll spend the next few couple of minutes, maybe more than an hour, for the Cabinet Secretary to announce the results. So let her walk to the podium and see how the ceremonies will begin, and see if some of the questions that we are raising here and some of the concerns that the candidates and parents back at home have, whether they will be answered. So I think I want us to cross over there so that we can listen into what is transpiring at the Kenya National Examinations Council headquarters as we wait to see the class of 2018 get their results, the moment of destiny. So I think we just cross over there and listen in.
Maswali.
Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Uzalendo pia mshikamano viwe msingi wa umoja wetu, na tulinde uhuru na amani, mila zetu na desturi zetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Viwandani na hata mashambani, tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tujitoe kwa hali na mali, tuijenge jumuiya bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
While still standing, we will now have the opening prayer by Ahmed Mohamed Mutanga.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise and thank is due to Allah, Lord of all the worlds. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, most merciful, most compassionate. Malik Yawmiddin, Lord of the day of recompense. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Only you do we ask for help, and only you do we worship. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, guide us unto the straight path. Sirat al-ladina an'amta alayhim, the path of those whom you have favored. Ghair al-maghdubi alayhim, not those among whom you are angry with. Ghair al-maghdubi alayhim walad-dallin, or those who have gone astray. Amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ya Allah, today we want to thank you for the leadership which you have bestowed upon this country. Ya Allah, we thank you for the leadership in the education fraternity as we meet here today to celebrate a day which is a day of happiness for the candidates who did the 2018 KCSE examinations. Gathered here today, Ya Allah, are those whom you bestowed leadership, because you have said in the scriptures, yu'til mulka mimman tasha, you give leadership to those whom you wish. We make specific mention, Ya Allah, of our Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Ambassador Amina Muhammad. We make specific reference to you, Ya Allah, of our Permanent Secretary, Dr. Belio Kipsang. Ya Allah, we make specific mention to you of our Chairman of the Council, Professor George Magoha, and his team, the Board of Directors of the Kenya National Examination Council. Ya Allah, we make specific mention of the Acting CEO, Dr. Mercy Karogo, and we pray that you continue to guide these leaders, together with the NEC management, that they may continue leading us in wisdom, which you have bestowed upon them. We continue to pray to you as we enjoy the protection that you have given us in this country, particularly during the administration of the 2018 KCSE examinations. Those of us who are in the field, we know the challenges we faced, and we know it was your mercy and protection that kept us on the straight path. Ya Allah, you gave us a peaceful environment. You saw the education fraternity traversing this country, and the stakeholders who are all keen to make sure that the 2018 KCSE examinations were credible. Today we also pray for the candidates who sat for the 2018 KCSE, that you may give them patience as they receive their results, that you will allow them to enjoy, to celebrate the results which you have given them as the fruits of their labor. Ya Allah, we pray that you will guide them to remember to glorify you and thank you as we release the results today. Ya Rab, we pray this because we know that it is only your guidance and your will that prevails. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma amin, amin, thumma amin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Please be seated. Thank you so much. The Cabinet Secretary, the Honorable Ambassador Dr. Amina Mohammed, the Principal Secretary, the State Department of Education, the Ministry of Education, Dr. Belio Kipsang, the Chair of the Kenya National Examinations Council, Professor George Magoha, the council members of the Kenya National Examinations Council, the CEO, Teacher Service Commission, the CEO, KICD, the Director General, State Department of Education, senior officials of the Ministry of Education, the representatives of the AEAA, representatives from the Teachers Union, with a special mention of the Secretary General of NAT, Mr. Wilson Sosion, who is also a member of Parliament. I hope the CUPET representative is here. The representatives of the KEPSHA, Kenya Primary Schools Heads Association, the representatives of KESHA, the Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association, the Kenya Parents Association chairman and representatives, members of the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I wish to, from the start, indicate, if you allow CS, that we will make sure that we rush through this program, of course, not leaving any essential information, to catch up on the time that we might have lost. I want also to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for the unavoidable delay in the start of the program. I wish to request, if the CS allows, that we can very quickly see who is here, present, starting with the directors and senior officials of the Ministry of Education. You can wave to this meeting if you're present. You can stand and wave to this meeting. Directors and senior officers of the Ministry of Education. Karibuni, you are most welcome. The representatives from the teacher unions, the ones who are present, please stand and wave to this meeting. Karibuni. The representatives of the teacher associations, KEPSHA and KESHA, please stand and wave to this gathering. Mmekaribishwa sana. The Kenya Parents Association. Yes. Karibu. Of course, we can see the members of the media fraternity. I know you are not allowed to wave, but for this occasion, please wave to this gathering. I want to have a quick mention of the representatives of the AEAA. AEAA is the African Educational Association, Association for Educational Assessment for Africa. We are blessed to have with us 7 national examination boards represented in this meeting. 7 national examination boards. If you allow, CS, if you have a few minutes, I could read them out. We normally benchmark with members of the AEAA, and in this gathering, to ensure that we went through proper awards and grading system, we had representatives of 7 national examination boards. South Sudan National Examinations Council was represented by the Secretary General, who is also the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Simon Nyok Deng. You are welcome. The Council for Quality Assurance in General and Further Education and Training, usually known as UMALUSI of South Africa, represented by Mr. Dennis Twala, the Manager of Qualifications. You are welcome. The Malawi National Examinations Board, MANEB, represented by Ms. Patricia Paseli, Examination Development Officer. Welcome. The Uganda National Examinations Board, UNEB, represented by Mr. Thomas Kagoro, a Senior Research Officer. Karibu. The West African Examinations Council, WAEC, Ghana, represented by Mr. John Apia, Deputy Registrar and Head of Science. You are welcome. Examinations Council of Lesotho, ECOL, represented by Maureen Ntlatapa, Director of Product Development. In Kenya, that would be the Director of Test Development. Examinations Council of Zambia, Mwale Eric Mkanda, Test Development, Social Science. Malawi National Examinations Board, Maneb Fred Mwale, Test Development. So you're all welcome. I now wish, if you allow, Chair, to request that the CEO of NEC, Dr. Mercy Karogo, makes brief remarks.